Not easy to run a business in uncertain times, likely much harder if you're a small business owner without many options. The Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses says these owners are being squeezed by the trade war. Joining us to talk about that, Gaudreault, chief economist at CFIB. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
What has it been like for these small business owners over the last few months?
Well, it's been unsurprisingly, perhaps a roller coaster of announcements, re-announcements, retractions, and businesses have had to navigate this uncertainty almost on a constant basis, trying to adjust and readjust their plans. They're telling us that it has had a significant impact on their business in many cases, and the impacts can be also quite varied.
How many are saying they're affected by the tariff situation?
So we've asked them to tell us if they had been directly or indirectly impacted by the various tariffs. We've listed the various tariffs and retaliatory tariffs that have been put in place. And all in all, about 7 out of 10 businesses mentioned that they were impacted by at least one type of tariff or retaliatory tariff from the trade war. That's a significant number. In some cases, business are more directly impacted. We can think of manufacturers, for example, but you also have in certain sectors of the economy, significant numbers of businesses indirectly impacted. We can think, for example, of transportation companies that are part of the supply chain that are being caught in the crossfire here.
Simon, can you give us more of an example of how they're affected? Share a business model for us, for example.
Yeah, so a business, for example, that has to deal with significantly higher steel and aluminum costs. We can think of the 50% tariffs, for example, that the U.S. government has put in place. That represents a significant addition to their business costs, and actually, that's what our survey says. That's the most important impact that has been reported by businesses. Additional costs, but the business may also react to this by pausing certain business plans. For example, a third of businesses in our survey mentioned that a quarter to a third mentioned that they were pausing various plans like investment in machinery and equipment or hiring. And in some cases, you will also see production slowing down as businesses are trying to read a bit what's going on and trying to plan and build or reduce inventory. That's a very difficult exercise for a lot of businesses as they're trying to understand not just what the latest announcement means, but as the situation also evolves. So a lot of businesses are telling us, for example, that certain tariffs on certain line of items at the border weren't perhaps the tariffs weren't enforced as much a few weeks ago, but as details become clearer and the border authorities start to become a bit more specific about what they're charging, the impact of the tariffs becomes broader on a certain line of products. So we can expect actually the situation to keep evolving, and perhaps certain businesses that have responded to our survey saying they're not impacted yet to actually see an impact down the road as more tariffs are applied on more lines of products.
Some are saying, in fact, they won't survive. Tell us about that.
Well, the way we ask the question is for those businesses who reported additional costs due to the tariffs. We've asked them how long they could sustain that situation, how long their business could sustain that situation if nothing changes. So what that means is perhaps the business will close permanently at the end of this if nothing changes, or they will have to make significant adjustments to their business model. And about 1 in 5 said that the situation like that cannot last more than 6 months. and you have close to 4 in 10 that said things would have to change within the upcoming 12 months. Otherwise, they would have to make changes. So that's a significant share of businesses, and that's why at CFIB we're calling on some support for our small business sector to help them get through those difficult times.
Ottawa has announced help for the steel industry, as an example, to support diversifying their markets, to look to other markets, retraining workers, for example. Is any of this helpful to small business operators?
Businesses are actively looking to pivot away from the U.S. market, whether it's finding new customers or new suppliers that are not on U.S. soil. They're actively doing that already. So certainly those efforts at diversification would help, making sure that they cannot only just pivot away from the U.S. going overseas, but actually can bring back some of their economic activity here in Canada. So that's also something that must be done, and that's something that can be done in large part if we make sure that we have real free trade in Canada, which is something that at CFIB we've been calling governments to work on for a long time. There's been some political momentum earlier in the year on that, but we're still waiting to see concrete steps that governments will really lift those barriers to the free flow of goods and people between different provinces.
Yeah,
but that's likely not enough for a lot of businesses. A lot of money is being collected with retaliatory tariffs at the moment by the Canadian government, and over 80% of businesses in our survey said that some of that money should be returned quickly to impacted small and medium-sized businesses.
Got it. All right, Simon, I have to leave it there. Thank you for your time. Simon Gaudreault, Chief Economist at CFIB.